number line بتاعي x ودي كل ال values of x وبعدين I need to find the values of x for which this series converges. If I'm centered about the zero يبقى I can go زي ما اتفقنا ايه radius ايه أو distance r to the left and r to the ايه to left to right. صح يا جماعة؟ يعني as if I'm moving from minus r to ايه to r. Got it? طيب what if I have the form Cn قلنا but my x's are shifted يعني كل x I have a series but in powers of x minus a this time. We call this series ايه بقى؟ a power series برضه but this time I'm centered about مين؟ about ايه الفرق اللي هنا حصل؟ I'm shifting my values around mean around the A يبقى I'm centered about a point A or X is equal to A يعني as if when I'm gonna find my radius of convergence قلنا as if I'm centered at a specific point A and I can go around this A point from the left and right يعني from the interval A minus R to A plus R ده اللي احنا that's what we talked about last time قلنا we have two forms of our power series اللي هم these forms وكان what was our concern قلنا I have one objective اللي احنا three objectives the first one we talked about last time كان ايه بقى if I have this series what do I need to know actually I need to know الحاجات اللي على الرايت دي I need to know what values of x can I move around the center and still I have a convergent series صح what values برا outside the interval بتاعتي and I have divergence series يبقى بالتالي I only cared last time ان انا I need to find the values of the values of x for which my series is convergent okay اللي هي power series that I'm talking about دي is convergent. Actually, to do this job, we arrived at the end على الايه defining our radius of convergence فاكرين؟ سميناه capital R and أو arriving يعني I could either define the intervals by the radius أو I could define it by the interval x minus a less than or equal less than or R. Or I could write it in an open interval like this. X is in the interval a minus R to a plus R. طبعا الends I don't know ممكن تبقى close ممكن تبقى open I need to check قلنا ايه بقى my endpoints لوحدها okay طيب how did we do this job we did the ratio ايه we did the ratio test يبقى I always apply أو مش always بلاش كلمة always دي I usually apply the ratio test exceptionally some problems لا but I always applied my ratio test and we arrived at 3 cases for values of x لقينا ان الباور سيريز مش كده converges for ايه يعني any power series converges either ايه بقى ال 3 cases بتوعي first case كانت converges only at one point مش كده remember this and actually this point was ايه حد يقدر يفتكر what was this only point that our series any power series must converge at
الأوريجين.
الأوريجين لو you are centered about the origin لو أنت you are centered about the A يبقى it's an A يبقى actually it is the A أو it is the center يبقى it is always convergent at the center okay مين السنتر بقى it's either A the origin or it is the center A ماشي على حسب السيريز اللي أنا I'm dealing with the second case actually طلعت إيه بقى طلعت convergent for all values of X يعني for all real ايه real numbers او real values x يبقى x is element في real number line او I could say my interval is from negative infinity to infinity يبقى x lying any point من minus infinity ل infinity طب او third case كانت ايه ما هي either converges عند one point او for all points او لقينا ان انا عندي finite ايه بقى finite interval in which الايه in which the series is convergent and we defined it by x minus a absolute less than r okay r هنا is the radius of convergence okay وقلنا في الحالة دي بس I need to check my endpoints okay Any questions؟ ده كل اللي احنا قلناه last time and we took examples at this point. يبقى what is our first objective? Finding values of x for which a power series is convergent. Today's بقى objectives أو goals actually اللي هم التايتل بتوع our sections. second goal هنا أهو I need to represent functions as power series. يعني ايه دي؟ يعني if I want to write words instead of this هكتب ايه أو equations. يبقى my second goal أهو will be بقى a representation of function as power series. يعني ايه بقى؟ يعني معايا function f of x I need to find a power series such that this power series represent my function. Okay, we already have done things like this, but we didn't talk about it from this point of view. On the other hand, now the same goal هنا, I need to find, if I'm given, but هنا I'm given the function f of x and I want to find the power series. If on the other hand, I'm given a power series and I want to find مين بقى, this time I want to find the f of x. يبقى I could do the job different ways. If I have a f of x, I could find my power series. ده طبعا اللي احنا عايزين نوصل له in this lecture, okay? The third objective, as we mentioned it, and I want to apply these topics, okay, to problems in mathematics or applications. Yeah. طيب, how are we going to do our job? احنا دلوقتي in this goal يعني. I want to find a function, a power series that represents my function. Actually, I have two approaches. But we have two approaches for this. We're going to go each one of them and describe it into details, okay? Let's look at the first approach. But this is تاني. What was our goal? معلش, I'm going to repeat myself هنا. What was my goal? What do I need to find? I need to find a power series, مش كده? That represents my function f of x. يبقى I'm given f of x. And I want to find this power series. If I'm going to start these problems by starting with a function f of x. Let's look at this important problem and look at a different view of this problem. يبقى بالتالي mark this as our important problem. And let's الأول analyze this problem وبعدين look at our approach بقى أو our goal يعني. طيب. 1 على 1 minus x. This is a function of x. في حد معترض؟ Okay. طيب الحاجة التانية, on the other hand, I wrote it, this function actually is this power series. Do we have a proof for this? Can we prove this? Actually, I talked about it last lecture, but let's look at it again in a different view. Can I prove this? طيب خلينا اديك hint. Let us look first at the right hand side. مين هو right hand side? السيريز بقى نفسها. I'm gonna look at it on the other way around. I'm assuming I have this power series, okay? طيب what do I know about this power series? أول حاجة I know إنها centered about about الorigin. ماشي. طيب what else do I know? Can I do anything? Can I look at this series بدل ما power series? Can I look at it as an infinite series العادية بتاعتنا, okay? And try to analyze it as what is the type of this series? يعني the question now, what is the type of this infinite series?
Geometric.
Yes, Yusuf, definitely. It is geometric. تعال بصوا عليها in terms of الترمات بتاعتها. لو أنا حطيت n ب0 هيديني the first term x power 0 it's a 1. حط x in n ب1 هيديك x power 1. حط n ب2 x squared x cubed مش كده؟ up to infinity. طب now I know that this series اللي هي 1 plus x plus لما أجي أبص عليها if I got the ratio between corresponding أو consecutive terms هلاقي إيه؟ هلاقي إن الريشيو هنا x over 1 مش كده؟ يبقى which is an x. هلاقي اللي هنا الريشيو x squared على x which is x and so on. يبقى أنا I have a uniform ratio throughout الايه throughout السيريز. يبقى بالتالي this is a geometric series. How do I know geometric series من القصة دي؟ If I have a uniform ratio between consecutive terms يبقى it is a geometric series. ماشي كده؟ في حد معترض؟ طيب خلاص طالما I have information يبقى I can use my ايه بقى؟ I can use my knowledge about geometric series. I know that a geometric series with a first term is equal to 1 and with ratio is equal to x is convergent فين بقى؟ What do I know about convergent of this geometric series? If ايه بقى؟ My condition of geometric series in the absolute
absolute x is smaller than 1.
برافو عليكي مريم. Yes absolute. أنا ال R بقت x أهي يعني I need absolute R is less than ايه؟ is less than 1. يبقى this will convert in my problem to absolute x is less than 1. يبقى I have it now. What is this? Actually these are the values of x for which my series converges. يبقى now I know that this يبقى I concluded دلوقتي إن this sigma x to the power n is a geometric series and it has a values absolute x. What else do I know بقى? Can I find the sum of a geometric series? يبقى I'm gonna add up على information بتاعتي. I know my A, I know my R, and also if it is convergent, I know my sum. مش كده؟ What is the sum of a geometric series?
a over 1 minus r.
كده يبقى A على 1 minus R. يبقى I'm gonna use this information in my problem هنا in my power series. I know my A is a 1, my R is an X. يبقى عندي 1 على 1 minus X. What is this? Actually, this is my A, my left hand side. يبقى I started from the right hand side, I arrived at the left hand side, صح? يبقى now I could rewrite it by in a different view. Let's look at it the other way around. In the function of X, اللي هي 1 over 1 minus X actually is represented by this power series sigma X to the n from 0 to infinity. Got it? But now I have something back. This is going into my goal. My goal was if I'm given a function, what is the power series? Actually, this is a nice one because I used information I already had. I should برضو add up my radius of conversion. I cannot claim, we cannot claim that this is true always. يبقى بالتالي this is not always true. When does this is true? When is the function 1 على 1 minus x is actually the series sigma x to the n? Only for values of x, only for absolute x less than 1. Okay? ماشي؟ يبقى this is, I cannot say it كده as a general remark. I should say it and in addition absolute x less than 1. Okay? يبقى this should be added على my box and I have this. Okay? Got the idea? دي معناها ايه؟ معناها ان الفانكشن 1 على 1 minus x can be written like this 1 plus x squared. You have seen something like that. As if you're expanding your brackets. As if البراكت ده عبارة عن 1 minus x to the power minus 1. You're expanding your bracket in a power series of x. Okay? So this is valid for all x less than 1. ماشي؟ ماشي يا جماعة؟ طيب let's do بقى the job. تاني what was our goal? Given the second goal بقى اهو. I'm given f of x. I want to find my power series. Now I have something. This problem. يبقى I'm gonna use, this is our first approach, but I'm gonna use known problems to find to find power series of a requested problem. يبقى بالتالي I'm gonna use these known problems, okay, to estimate or to find a power series that I'm looking for. Okay, known problems to find a power series of the given function. ده الobjective أو ده الapproach بقى. This is the approach that we're gonna apply. طيب طبعا definitely not all problems will be in the form 1 على 1 minus x. يبقى I'll do an extra job actually on my problem to relate it to this known problem. طبعا ايه حاجات valid. يعني ايه valid؟ يعني يكون ال operations that I'm doing, ال algebraic operations that I'm gonna do is a valid operations. I won't change my problem. And also I could apply differentiation and integration. Okay, يبقى I could do some algebraic operations, I could do differentiation, integration, anything in my tools of a mathematical tools to do the job. Okay, but this is we're gonna take some examples على these ideas. Okay, واضح ايه الجول تاني؟ You are given a function and you want to find the power series. Your approach is you're gonna keep your eye on a known problem and try to do some we call these manipulations. We're gonna do some manipulations to reach our goal. Okay. طيب to do differentiation integration, actually I need a rule or I need a theorem. Let's look at my theorem first and then take some examples. I have a theorem actually that will facilitate this job. هو قال لي if I have a power series, okay, with radius of convergence capital R, then the function defined by this power series is differentiable, okay, on this interval. يعني ايه differentiable؟ يعني I could find the derivative of this function. طبعا لو هي function given in the closed form, I can easily differentiate my function. طب what about the left hand side? How can I differentiate this? Actually it is simple. لأنك أنت لما تيجي تقول لي I have this function, انسى إن اسمها power series أو أي حاجة. As if this is a polynomial in powers of x مش كده؟ x minus a بقى يعني. يبقى بالتالي when you want to do derivatives, actually you're going to do derivative to each term. فالدerivative بتاع f prime of x هنا the derivative of the constant will end up يبقى end up with c1 plus c2 times 2 في x minus a مش كده؟ اللي بعدها definitely it would have been 3 times c3 في x minus a all squared. So يبقى it is actually a simple thing to apply derivatives to power series لأن كل الترمات عندك is in powers of x. So the only rule you're gonna apply هنا is the power rule for derivatives. Okay. طب بالنسبة للintegration, actually it's the same. تعالى أقول لك get the integral of this form. يبقى تيجي integrate, يبقى تيجي تقول the integral of f of x dx actually will be the integral of my terms اللي هما بقى the integration of c node مش كده dx integrate بقى واحد c1 في integral of x minus a and so on dx. طبعا هنا الانتجريشن ان انا I'm gonna raise the power by 1 and divide by the new power فهيديني c node في x. Okay, I'm gonna integrate and keep brackets. يفضل أنا keep my brackets as it is. يبقى plus c1 في x minus a squared على 2 and so on. قعد يقول لي طب how could I do this? It's in the end it's a c node و a مش كده؟ It's a constant and I still have my constant of integration as if I'm adding up constants. فبالتالي I don't care if I took ال C node مع ال A with this constant and I have my form حافظ على my brackets x minus A. Got it? So now I can do derivatives, I can do integration. طب what about the radius of convergence? If I started with an R, I'll end up with an R, okay? يبقى the radius will be the same. يعني بالتالي if I did derivative of a power series, I will have the same R, it won't change. ليه؟ لأن I didn't do anything that will violate convergence. فالconvergence will still be the same in the same interval. It's the same مش interval بقى with the same radius of convergence. إنما كinterval I need to check the endpoints برضه هنا, okay? طيب. I hope you understood what we said. We said if you have an f of x, we need to find the power series. What was the approach? First approach, I'm gonna compare with known series or known functions. Let's do the job here for these problems. 1 على 5 plus x. You have any clue how we're gonna do this? احنا لغاية دلوقتي we didn't talk except على one known series. Let us write it here كده. اللي هي كانت 1 على 1 minus x وقلنا this is our important problem for this lecture اهي, which is equal to sigma x to the power n. This is in the sigma notation. If you want to write it in terms, يعني some students or some of you like to write it in a sigma notation. Some likes to work with it term by term. All is okay. Okay. And I know that this is true. I cannot say كده وخلاص واسكت زي ما قلنا. I cannot claim إنها for every x. I know إنها valid only for for x, absolute x less than 1. Put this in a box and we're going to want to use this information.
يعني احنا we're trying to make it geometric series برضو.
يعني مش geometric series. We're trying to use, مش شرط تبقى geometric, but we're trying to use this. I'm trying to check, يعني I want to find what is the relation between this problem and my problem.
هو مش متأكد أوي بس أنا كان في دماغي حاجة الأول اللي إيه إن إحنا ممكن نخليها بدل ما هي 5 plus x تبقى يعني نغيرها تبقى in the form of 1 minus 1 over كده, ممكن نعمل كده ولا؟
صح. This is manipulation. أنت you are manipulating the problem. بتخدعها.
كان قصدي ممكن اخليها مثلا 1 over 1
That's it. Yes.
minus x minus 4 مثلا.
Yes, excellent بصراحة. يعني أنت على طول شفت and I could rewrite my problem algebraically. أنا لسه I didn't look at any series, but my eyes are on the 1 على 1 minus x. I needed to be like this 1 minus مش كده؟ 1 minus bracket, right? How can I manipulate this? أول حاجة definitely I can take إيه بقى عشان أخلي الترم ده 1 مش كده؟ يبقى I'm gonna take من هنا إيه؟ a 5 as a common factor من الدينومينيتور مش كده؟ صح؟ I'm gonna extract this constant 5 من تحت. فبالتالي I'll end up فعلا بال1 that I need, but هنا أصبحت إيه بقى؟ x over كام؟ x over 5. Okay? طب what about the negative? Definitely this is not this. إنما I need also to add up كمان إيه؟ a minus x. Okay? So now I have it. Yes, I could claim that إيه this could be analogous to the problem 1 على 1 minus a 1 على 1 minus x. As if I'm gonna replace إيه each x, let's call this x capital, each x by a. طبعا هreplace فين بقى؟ في important problem, if I call this my star problem, if I replace in this equation every x by a by the bracket that
negative 5 over x.
بالظبط كده, by this bracket negative x over 5.
Negative x over 5. Sorry.
Okay. لأنك أنت when you do this, تعالى بقى bit by bit, put هنا from the beginning, from the left side, put every x negative x over 5. يبقى 1 على 1 minus x هتبقى 1 على 1 plus a plus x over a over 5 مش كده؟ صح؟ أنت دلوقتي you are replacing في star every x by negative x over 5. Okay? طيب and your problem actually you have a 1 على 5 بره. يبقى my problem عشان ما اقعدش برجع تاني اكتبها, يبقى f of x اهي 1 على 5 in this equals 1 على 5 this I have it بره. وبعدين I open my bracket and put the power series of 1 على 1 plus a x. يبقى I'm gonna remove every x في الباور بقى series by negative x over a negative x over 5. Okay? Actually, in the last lecture, I did it using term by term. In this lecture, I did it using the sigma notation. I can redo it using term by term. It's maybe easier. Yeah. طيب يبقى بالتالي I have إيه بقى؟ I have sigma. ممكن أبسط بقى الفورم negative x actually كأنها negative 1 times x مش كده؟ To the power n يبقى I have negative 1 to the power n times x to the power a n over بقى 5 اللي بره وهنا عندي 5 power n يبقى I'll end up with 5 power n plus 1. Okay? يبقى what is this? This is a power series that represents the problem 1 على 5 plus x. Okay? طب what about my radius of convergence? I started with absolute x less than 5. طب what was my condition هنا? I replaced every x by negative x. Also, I will do the same for the condition. يعني هنا هاجي بقى condition can absolute x less than a less than 1. My x now actually is negative x over 5. يبقى my new condition now actually is absolute x less than a less than 5. يبقى بالتالي this is valid for absolute x less than 5. ليه حصل كده؟ لأنه every x now is negative x over 5. ماشي؟ ف when I simplified it, it arrived at absolute x less than 5. عايزة أسئلة بقى. I can resolve it using term by term. Maybe it's easier for you to see it. We're gonna resolve using a term by term. ماشي؟ يعني ايه term by term؟ يعني I'm gonna use إنه بدل السيجما notation sorry I'm gonna use 1 على 1 minus x is equal to 1 plus x squared plus x cubed and so on. Let's do it bit by bit. If I want a positive هنا يبقى I'm gonna do it like this 1 minus x صح؟ يعني بالتالي 1 minus x squared سوري في حاجة غلط هنا دي x و x squared و x cubed اوكي ماشي يبقى هتبقى 1 minus x plus x squared minus x cubed and so on. It's going plus or minuses ها طيب but I don't want 1 على 1 plus x. I want المسألة بتاعتي فيها 5 يبقى بالتالي 1 على 5 في 1 plus negative x بقى هتبقى كده بقى negative x على 5 زي ما قلنا gonna replace بقى يبقى تديني 1 minus ايه x over 5 وفي 1 على 5 بره يبقى x على 25 plus x squared على 25 times 5 which will be 125 and so on. يبقى this is my series. يبقى you could either solve it simply بالطريقة دي which is correct أو you could do it using the sigma notation. ماشي؟ وانت بتعمل برضو الابسوليوت هنا you removed انت هتمشي you started with this one absolute x less than 1 هنا بقت absolute negative x less than 1 وهنا negative x على 5 less than 1 which is absolute x less than 5 يبقى it is the same ايه طبعا ماشي معلش طولت فيها شوية بس ايه do you understand طيب 1 على 1 على 1 plus x squared quickly بقى احنا ضيعنا وقت في دي. What about the other example بقى part B 1 over 1 plus x squared and I want to use 1 على 1 I'm giving you a hint هنا 1 على 1 minus x is 1 plus x squared minus plus x cubed and so on. What is the analogy? What are you going to replace with?
ممكن نخليها 1 على 1 minus negative x squared
1 على
ممكن نخليها negative x squared تبقى هي دي ال r بتاعتنا مثلا
يبقى
1 over 1 minus negative x squared
لا خلاص ما هي already 1 over 1 plus x squared انت كل الفرق بين ال original وبين this one this term فده هيديك indication ان انت you just gonna replace each x by negative x squared صح؟
ده قصدي
انا افتكرتك تقول 1 على 1 plus x squared
لا
يبقى minus x squared يبقى gonna replace every x in this problem by negative x squared you're gonna reach your problem يبقى my function f of x will be 1 over 1 plus x squared will power series will be 1 minus x squared plus x power 4 مش كده minus x power 6 so got it برضو if you want to work with the sigma notation طب برضو it will be a simple way okay طب what about x على x squared part C بقى x squared على 1 plus x squared this is your function and you want to find the power series. Actually, if you already found a part, you could use this part in your problem. And if you already found 1 over 1 plus x squared, can I rewrite my problem D as إنها x squared times the bracket 1 على 1 plus x squared? فأنا already I have a power series representation for this one اللي هي برضو defined for absolute x less than 1. اوكي لأن هنا برضو when I replace x squared less than 1 برضو will give me x squared less than 1. ماشي. طيب يبقى بالتالي I can بقى replace كل واحد على 1 plus x squared بكل الايه power series دي. يبقى I'll end up with x squared افتح bracket 1 minus x squared plus x power 4 minus x power 6 and so on. Okay. And my absolute x still is less than 1. ما حصل لها change. يبقى طبعا I don't leave it like this. I need it in powers of x. يبقى I must multiply the x squared with the bracket. يبقى I'll end up with x squared minus x power 4 plus x power 8 and so on. Okay. 6 قصدي sorry. 8 6 وبعدين هنا 8. Okay. يبقى this is my power series. What is this? This series approximates or represents my function x squared على 1 plus x squared. يبقى this is the approach. Actually, if I have a function, I'm looking on a known series and I'm doing the job. طيب, what about حاجة لو عندي زي bracket squared أو عندي length functions? We're still in the same approach. We are using برضه I'll give you the hint. We are using 1 over 1 minus x. بيساوي sigma x to the power n for absolute x less than 1. I'm still using the same function هنا. How can you relate your problem اللي هي 1 على 1 plus x squared to this problem? هنا في حصل يعني change جامد. The change إن أنا I have a power to my bracket. This won't do with algebraic manipulation. I need إيه بقى؟
نفك يا دكتور
نفك
البراكت.
البراكت. لا لو انا فكيت البراكت يبقى انا بقيت ايه يعني صعبت المساله. actually it would be more difficult لان انا هيبقى عندي 1 plus 2x plus x squared صح؟ فعندي linear terms وكده جوه براكت. actually I have another simpler
هو احنا مش ممكن consider ده مش عارف ده أصعب ولا أسهل بس ممكن consider them as two series multiplied في بعض.
You can, but you cannot find a closed form. يعني أنا I cannot find 1 plus x times 1 على 1 plus x. يبقى أنت هتعمل infinite series times an infinite series. You cannot find a closed form لدي قوي. لأن this is multiplication not addition. فأنت هتقعد تدور على الكوفيشنت بتاع x والكوفيشنت بتاع x squared كلها.
فتبقى أصعب
بكتير. What relates a bracket 1 over 1 على البراكت to the 1 على نفس البراكت square? Derivatives actually. I know if I took this one مبدئيا let's look at the negative. يبقى first step عايز أخلص من this negative. يبقى I'm gonna replace every x by a by minus x مبدئيا عشان أخلص من قصة الايه النيجاتيف sign صح؟ So I'll end up with 1 over 1 plus x is equal to sigma negative 1 to the power n x to the power n. يبقى احنا جبنا البراكت positive اهو صح؟ طب what is the second step؟ ال 1 على 1 plus x أنا عايزه square. ما يجيش في بالك على طول إن أنت if you got the derivative you're gonna end up with the relation. Can I do the derivative of both sides? Then we know that the derivative of this bracket actually is negative 1 على 1 plus x all squared. يبقى I got my squaring now. يبقى actually it needs some يعني vision كده إن ايه step that I'm gonna do ahead to reach my goal. ماشي؟ فبالتالي أنا when I did the derivative of the left hand side I reached my goal. بس في negative مش فارقة أنا I can put it the other side. طب what is the derivative of this power series? We know that the derivative طبعا مش كده اهو of this power series I'm getting the derivative with respect للx. طبعا السيجما this is a linear operator ممكن اطلع بره الايه الاوبريشنز بتاعتي الديريفيتيف والنيجاتيف 1 is a fixed. يبقى as if I'm getting the derivative of x power n. What's the derivative of x power n? This is
x power n minus 1.
بالظبط مفيش أسهل من كده. This is my power rule. يبقى it is n times x to the power n minus 1. Okay. I'm moving with n from 0 هنا n from 0. I started with absolute x less than a 1. I did the derivative. My theorem told me that doing derivatives won't affect my radius. يبقى الراديوس هيفضل زي ما هو. Okay. هنا I can بس notice إن عند ال n is equal to 0 الترم ده بإيه؟ بقى ب0. So I could rewrite it عشان eliminate any redundancy يعني. I could write it from n starting from 1 في n في x to the power n minus 1. Okay. I'm writing only in the non-zero terms. ماشي. Got it? يبقى what is my power series for negative for 1 على 1 plus x squared. أنا عندي بس still إيه this negative sign هنا. All I need to do is put it إيه the other side. يبقى my answer هيبقى كده 1 على 1 plus x all squared is equal to sigma negative 1 to the power. النيجاتيف will add up مع these negatives صح؟ يبقى الباور هيزيد ب1 بس. يبقى n plus 1 وهنا عندي n times x power n minus 1 from 1 to infinity and my absolute x is less than 1. يبقى I have everything. I have my power series. I have my radius of convergence.
طب دكتور،
نعم.
هو ليه ما حطيناش النيجاتيف اللي هي كانت على الشمال دي بره السيجما وخلاص؟
بره السيجما ممكن تحطها بره السيجما but it won't look nice. انت عندك نيجاتيف وبعدين تكتب نيجاتيف. فاهم؟
ايوه طبعا مش
you
فاهم.
always try to simplify الفورم. يعني ليه اكتب نيجاتيف وانا already عندي نيجاتيف؟ وانا ما اجي اقول لك نيجاتيف يعني دي كأنها نيجاتيف 1 مش كده؟ مضروبة في ايه؟ في نيجاتيف 1 باور n. مش ده الشكل؟
فتبقى n plus 1.
ف you always combine the يعني the powers فهتبقى كأنها نيجاتيف 1 باور n plus 1.
تمام يا دكتور.
هو دكتور
I can leave it like this بس ما هوش الشكل المتعارف عليه. ماشي؟ ما هوش the simplest form يعني. يس حد كان هيقول حاجة؟
هو مش ما فهمتش احنا ازاي ان قلبنا السيجما من 0 لانفينيتي خليناها من 1 لانفينيتي.
لا هو أنا بس I observed هنا I observed إنه at n بتساوي 0 ال first term هنا ال A1 الترم بتاعي ب0 لأن عندك n. لأنك أنت لما نزلت الباور هنا فبقى معاك n هنا اهو صح؟
تمام.
فلو انت حتى بتكتبها بقى بدلالة الترمز هتلاقيها ظاهرة لك ازاي بقى. يعني first term هنا تعالى نحط الفيرست terms بتاعتنا.
هيبقى 0
يبقى 1 على 1 plus x all squared اهي. هيبقى أول term 0 مش كده؟ بعدين plus حط n بقى ب1 you're gonna end up بايه؟ negative.
السيريز بعد كده هنمشي في السيريز.
power 1 يبقى negative مع negative هتبقى positive 1 دي 1 في x power 0 which is a 1 and so on. يبقى عندي 1 بعدها هتبقى definitely ايه 2 في ايه في x. اوكي اللي بعدها هتبقى 3 في x squared and so on. يبقى you're gonna substitute with values of n هتلاقي في الفيرست term ده ملوش لازمة. So when I'm writing my sigma notation وعايزة أبقى optimum as possible I'm gonna remove the 0 I'm gonna start from 1 بس. فاهم؟
اوكي تمام. ايوه فهمت تمام.
فده طبعا مكمل كده و I have my absolute x less than 1. يبقى زي ما قلت لك you could work with term by term you could work by sigma notation الاثنين صح. ماشي. طب what about len 1 plus x let's work it with our term by term. len 1 plus x عشان نبقى كأننا بنسويتش techniques يعني. طيب برضو I'll give you a hint. I want to use the famous series بتاعتي 1 على 1 minus x 1 plus x plus x squared plus x cubed and my absolute x less than 1. What is the هتسأل نفسك بقى what is the relation between the bracket 1 على 1 minus x and this؟ برضو
ممكن من derivative len 1 plus x.
ممكن من derivative. برافو عليك. يبقى لو في ضد الديريفاتيف هيبقى معاك 1 على 1 minus x بعدين ترجع تعمل ايه؟ integration صح؟ أو you could directly actually integrate ده وخلاص صح؟ if you eliminated أو خلصت نفسك من النيجاتيف يبقى you know برضو إنه also 1 على 1 plus x لما اشيل كل x بنيجاتيف x هي 1 minus x plus x minus x cube plus x4 صح؟ معايا انتوا؟ سامعيني؟ حاسة
يس يا دكتور.
طيب let's integrate بقى المرة دي بدل ما differentiate وبعدين integrate أنا gonna do it على one job بس I'm gonna do it على هنا بدل ما differentiate ده وأرجع أوصل لبراكت وبعدين أرجع integrate لأن I could integrate both sides خلاص صح؟ الاثنين صح بس الثانية هيبقى فيها one step زيادة. طيب let's integrate both sides. I know that the integral of 1 على 1 plus x I'm integrating this rule مش كده اللي هو الستار ده. I'm gonna end up with the other side integral بتاع 1 minus x plus x squared minus x cubed وهكذا صح؟ dx. طبعا the integral بتاع 1 على 1 minus x I know it is ln 1 plus x. Okay. The integral of 1 which is an x and so on. This is a power rule part. If I'm going to raise the power by 1 divide by the new power where I keep my signs معايا don't forget your sign. طيب let's move برضو بالراديوس عشان ما ننساهوش. I started with x less than 1. I did integration. الثيرم بتقول لي it will stay the same صح؟ يبقى I'm still using the same. طبعا when I integrated this is an indefinite integral. Don't forget to add up your c. What is this c? My constant of integration صح؟ Don't forget. طب if I have this constant I don't want to end up with the power series depending على some constant. Can I find this constant? Can I find this constant? I'll give you a hint. I could use the properties of the len function صح? Actually and find values. I know that the value of بقى and I'm using the properties of len صح؟ يبقى I know that len x plus 1 أما x is equal to 0 will end up with len 1 equals 0 صح؟ يعني my function len x plus 1 تبقى len 1 and x equals 0. فهمتوا استخدمت ايه؟ يعني I looked at my original problem اللي هي len 1 plus x and I know a simple value هنا for x equals 0 which is len 1 which is the 0 صح؟ طب can I substitute this in my answer يعني? As I call this 1. Can I substitute in 1 by x equals 0? Yes. يبقى the left hand side هيبقى 0 اللي هو len 1. This side will be 0 minus 0 plus 0 كلهم zeros لأن كلها positive powers of positive powers of x. I'm going to end up with a c plus c where c is equal now 0. يبقى I could find yes my c and my c is equal to 0. Let's sum up what happened يبقى my len 1 plus x is defined by this power series اللي هي x minus x squared over 2 plus x cubed على 3 and so on. Okay. مفيش constant of integration. I found that the constant is 0 and my absolute x is less than 1. Can I write it in sigma notation? Actually it's simple. لأن هنا واضح إن ال powers of x x to the power if I started with a 1 هنا يبقى this is my n يبقى I have a power power 1 and I'm gonna start my n from 1 to infinity. Okay. في plus or minus طبعا هيبقى معايا negative 1 to the power. It's starting from a positive يبقى بالتالي I needed n plus 1 to be positive with the first term. ماشي. يبقى this is how we do the job. ماشي.
دكتور هي ليه x over n؟ يعني دي مش x to the power of n.
x to the power of في عملت حاجة غلط ولا ايه؟ maybe I forgot. قصدي أنا I was checking the first معاكي حق. هي هنا x to the power n. I was checking the first term to see when do I start my counter. Thank you for this. خلاص يبقى هي x to the n معاكي حق over n لأن هنا x to the 1 على 1 x squared على 2 x cubed over 3 right. طيب Similarly, I can do this برضو using derivatives. Then tan inverse is 1 على 1 plus x squared. So it's the similar problem. طيب, what about if I have a function, but I cannot relate it, not simply related to a well-known function. هعمل ايه؟ اتصرف ازاي؟ يبقى this will be our second يبقى second approach. اوكي، يبقى ده الاوبجكتيف بتاعنا دلوقتي. يعني إذا I have an f of x and I need to find, I'm still in the same goal, I'm still having f of x and I need to find a power series. مش كده؟ But this function is not simply related زي the previous problem. So what should I do? Actually, I'm going to apply this theorem, اللي هو theorem 5, okay? يبقى we're going to call this theorem Taylor and Maclaurin series. لأن هو هيديني two types of series as we're going to see now. The theorem actually states that أو starts by an assumption in f has a power series. Take care of this يعني الstatement بتاعت الtheorem. Now you are starting assuming that f has a power series, okay? Then you can find a power series in this form. احنا ده الشكل العادي بتاعنا. طب what is new هنا in this theorem؟ طبعا احنا عارفين ان power series will be a coefficient في x minus a power n. And this will be my interval of convergence. What is new هنا? Actually, the new thing in this theorem is this formula for the coefficients. Sorry, معلش. يبقى our new thing هنا هي ايه؟ This formula for the coefficients A of my power series Cn. قبل كده ما كانتش عندي coefficients. يبقى بيقول لي if any بقى function has a power series then it must be written like this. طب ده معناه ايه؟ This means that حتى the previous problems that we have done actually has this form. يعني if انت رحت عملت verification كده على ال previous problems هتلاقيها it will satisfy this theorem. Okay? This theorem. let's do الأول الجوب إن إحنا let's show that أو derive this coefficient to see how we're gonna use it وبعدين let us define both types of series that we have. ماشي؟ يبقى what are we gonna do now؟ حد يقول لي بقى؟ I'm gonna start with a I'm assuming مش كده؟ that f has a power series. طيب. And I'm assuming it is about a center اللي هو ال A. يبقى it must be written like this. ملهاش حل. ماشي؟ يبقى any power series must be written in this form. And in addition بقى الجديد هنا this function of x الجديد هنا إن these coefficients Cn has a formula. I want to derive this formula for n. Let's derive it together. Okay? طيب I'm gonna assume إن the function is differentiable. يبقى بالتالي I'm gonna start with my function مش بالpower series. I'm gonna start with the function نفسها. And I'm gonna collect the values of the function at the center. ال A هنا is my center. ماشي؟ طيب this is the first thing. طيب the second I'm gonna do by derivatives. يعني أنا كده جبت ال function value and now I'm gonna get derivatives and get the value of the derivatives at at this point. Let's write by a derivative now. حد يقول لي what is the derivative? انت هنا معاك this function and you know it has this power series and you want the derivative. خلينا اصغرها كده. خلي ده كده دلوقتي. Let's write this in its terms. يمكن تشوفها أحسن. لما أجي أقول لك this function is written as this series. حط n بزيرو you're gonna have c sub 0 صح؟ times x minus a to the power 0 which is a 1. الترم التاني حط n ب1 you have c1 x minus a. معايا انتوا؟ الترم التالت will be بقى معلش سوري أنا عايزة أصغر عشان يكفوا في نفس السلايد. يبقى عندي هنا c2 في x minus a all squared. التالت c3 x minus a all cubed. طبعا I have it لغاية infinity. طب let's work with these few terms. جيت قلت لك find f at a. يبقى تيجي تقول لي f at a يعني هشيل I'll substitute in this power series هنا with every x by a. يبقى each bracket occurring فيها x minus a actually will be equal to a
Zero.
equal to 0. عند كل البراكتس دي هتبقى actually zeroed out صح؟ I'll end up with just only the first coefficient which is c naught. I'm getting to something else and I'm actually deriving my coefficients. طيب, if I got the derivative, let's write our derivative هنا. The first derivative now for the first term هيبقى 0 plus the second term will be c1 times x minus a. The derivative of the bracket is 1 plus. I'll do the second or the third term بقى ده. يبقى يديني 2 times c2 times x minus a power 1 صح؟ Plus the third term هيبقى 3 times of c3 times ايه بقى x minus a squared. Now, what if I substituted each x by a? What's going to happen now? What is the value of f prime at this point a? Let's do a line هنا كده. What is the value of f prime at a?
Equal C1.
برافو عليك. It is equal to c1. لأن كل البراكتس x minus a and I'm plugging in x equals a. فكل البراكتس دي هتروح بزيروز. Okay, يبقى I'll end up with only just the first term. طب I need a pattern. I will continue until I arrive at the pattern. يبقى f double prime هتبقى 2 c2 times 1 plus 3 times 2 times c3 في x minus a. Definitely البراكت اللي بعده هيبقى 4 times 3 في c4 times x minus a squared and so on. طب now plug in the point a in this second derivative. برضو نفس القصة. كل البراكتس اللي فيها x minus a will go up to zeros. I'll end up with the first term اللي هو 2c2. I didn't see still the pattern. Let's do another third derivative. يبقى I'm getting the derivative ده بزيرو. اللي بعديها هيبقى ايه بقى 3 مش كده times 2 times 1 times c3 x plus x minus a هيبقى خلاص ب 1 4 times 3 مش كده times 2 times x minus في c4 times x minus a power 1 and so on. طب what is the third derivative at the point a? هيبقى برضه the first term. It's always will end up with the first term multiplied by the ايه بقى factorial of the how many derivatives you have done. يعني عندي هنا factorial 3 times c3. When I go back كده دي actually as if it's factorial 2 c2. This is actually as if it's factorial 1 c1. يبقى now I could imagine that I have my pattern بقى فعلا. I derive my pattern إنه when I do the nth derivative we use this notation to imply that I'm doing the nth derivative. ماشي. I'm doing derivative n times. And then I'm gonna plug the point. But I'm doing two things. I'm getting the nth derivative and I'm plugging the point x equals a in these derivatives. Okay, I arrived at a بقى. أهو factorial هنا 3 لو أنا عندي third derivative يبقى واضح إنها factorial n في the coefficient the nth coefficient cn. يبقى I need my coefficients. The function is known. يبقى من unknown هنا هو مين؟ unknown هنا هو coefficient cn. يبقى cn is equal to ايه بقى؟ The nth derivative at the point over factorial n. Actually, this rule is a very powerful rule. It's really important. Then it simplifies everything. Now, if I have a function, all I need to do is ايه بقى to get its power series. I'm starting with the function. I need the power series. Now I know that the coefficient of the power series are the nth derivative at the point divided by factorial. I'm not doing بقى, I'm not manipulating or doing anything. I'm just substituting in this formula times x minus a power n. Okay, got it? It's really a very powerful form. Let's look at the terms, يعني term by term. Rewrite it كده term by term. حط n ل0. We use the fact that factorial 0 طبعا is a 1 مش كده؟ وأي حاجة bracket to the power 0 is a 1. يبقى I'll end up f of a. Well, actually this was my first term فعلا. This was my c node مش كده؟ I'll end up with the second term f prime and the a over factorial 1 times x minus a. شايفين ايه اللي حصل؟ Now any function, to get the power series, all you have to do is plug the point in the function value and its derivatives. These will be your coefficients. واضح؟ Let's do بقى على some problems كده. الأول we didn't talk about the radius of convergence. Do you have any clue about the radius of convergence for this problem? All I did is derivatives. I didn't start with a known series. فأنا actually I don't have any clue about the radius. فبالتالي I'll have to do an extra job to find the radius of convergence. Okay? يبقى it's not finished كده. I just got my series, but I need كمان to find the radius of convergence. خلاص يبقى ده هيرجعني to my objective number 1 for power series, and I'm gonna solve for convergence, أو بمعنى آخر find the values of x for which this function is convergent. احنا قلنا how do we do this? How do we find x for which the function is convergent? By the ratio test. يبقى I'm gonna apply the ratio test. Okay. يبقى to find R هنا I must do an extra job and apply the ratio test بعد ما أخلص. يبقى actually هنا we have 2 steps in these such problems. In this second approach, find your power series using the formula. وبعدين apply your ratio test. Okay. I call this our second approach to find a function, a power represent, to find ايه بقى power series مش كده for my function f of x. Got the idea? يبقى هنا الراديوس depending على الراتيو test. Please stop me if you need any questions or if you have any doubts. طب let's apply كده and check your understanding. We didn't mention مين ماكلورين بقى ومين let's go back to our theorem معايا. Now we have this theorem 5. اداني ايه بقى this theorem? It gave me this formula, this very powerful formula. Now Taylor came and claimed ايه؟ قال لك if you got your power series about any center A, then we'll call it a power Taylor series. Okay. But what is Taylor series? It's just theorem 5 about center A. ماشي. يبقى if I'm expanding the function about a point, يبقى بالتالي I call it Taylor series. طبعا the function must be continuous at this point to be able to find this series. تاني حاجة I call it Maclaurin بقى on the other hand, where Maclaurin is a special case هنا and it is centered. حد يقول لي بقى centered about ايه؟
origin.
بس كده. يبقى هو ده الفرق الوحيد. إن Taylor is a series expanding around the point non-zero. Maclaurin is the series expanding around the zero. Okay, that's the only difference between them. The naming بتاعهم بس. Okay, so when I apply this example and I need both Maclaurin series and Taylor series. هنا Maclaurin he didn't specifically explicitly ما ادانيش point ما ادانيش center. I know for sure that Maclaurin is about ايه؟ This is known implicitly, صح؟ إن Maclaurin about about الorigin. فعلى طول I'm gonna expand around the zero. Taylor, he must give me the point at which he's expanding. So here I'm expanding my function about the point 2. ماشي؟ يبقى this is a Maclaurin and this will be a C. How بقى we solve these kinds of problems? أنا هلاقي problem كده اهي function. I'm asked to find a power series for this function. أما أجي أبص, is it any way near 1 على 1 minus x that we've been talking about? لا derivative ولا integration will give me my goal, صح؟ يبقى I'm gonna go with the theorem 5 and the definition of power series, and I'm gonna get my coefficients, okay? يبقى I'm gonna go with the definition in the fx can be written in the form كده nth derivative of the A which is here is 0. I'm now doing a part A اللي هي ماكلارين. يبقى I'm gonna put a 0 هنا over factorial n في x power n. هنا برضو as if it's a x minus 0. Okay. طيب do the job بقى. A nice way to do the job is make 2 columns. Okay. It would be nice كده. You see everything in front of you. You put your function and you put on the corresponding column the function values at the center. يعني center هنا 0 يبقى I want to plug zeros in these values. And its derivatives. خلاص. e power 0 is a 1. يبقى what did I do هنا? I put my function as it's given في problem وبعدين I plugged in the center اللي هو 0 هنا. طيب I want to find the rest of the coefficients. I want to find the derivatives. يبقى I'm gonna get them one by one. يبقى f prime is e to the power x. I'm gonna get derivatives and plug in the 0 for each derivative. يبقى f prime is 0 برضه is a 1. f double prime واضح ان exponential will always be exponential and the plugging in will always give me a 1. Do I have a pattern? Shall I stop? Do I have a pattern? Can I claim what is the nth derivative of the function f of x? انت لو if you went كده infinitely it will be برضه هتفضل e power x. ده انت لو فضلت تعمل ايه صح؟ طيب يبقى انت you'll end up دايما e power x and always برضه the nth derivative at the 0 also is a 1. Do I have a formula for my coefficients بقى؟ هروح للثيرم. الثيرم بتقول لي my coefficients هم ال nth derivative at the point على factorial n. يبقى I'll end up with 1 على factorial. يبقى I have everything صح؟ أنا معايا whole coefficient of my series. يبقى the function e power x is written in the form of sigma from 0 to infinity. صح يا جماعة؟ ال cn اللي هو 1 على factorial n times x to the power n. All I did is plugged in the formula or the value I got for my nth coefficient, صح? But this is a very important rule you're going to use a lot in your mathematics courses. خلاص? Actually, these are the most important things you're going to come out with this calculus course. ماشي؟ طيب if I want to write it term by term, what is this? e power x حط n 0 واحنا عارفين ان factorial 0 تاني is a 1 و x power 0 is a 1. يبقى first term is 1. Second term is x over factorial 1 صح? Third term x squared over factorial 2 and so on. يبقى my exponential function actually can be written كده in terms of a polynomial 1 plus x squared على factorial 2x cubed على factorial 3. Actually, this is what is used in numerical computations. If I don't have a calculator, actually, I could, if I told you find an approximation to the e power x, هتقول لي e power x approximated by 1 plus x مثلا ممكن اخد a few terms كده and I stop. ده عامل بالظبط زي linear approximation اللي كنا جبناها في الأول, but this is بقى ملهاش bounds بقى. I could have quadratic approximation, cubic, مش كده؟ power 4 approximation. we have done already a linear approximation. Now I could do any kinds of approximation. طيب what is missing بقى لسه? Did I finish the job? احنا قلنا الجوب ليها 2 folds صح يا جماعة؟ First fold I'm gonna get my power series. The second is I need to find ما أنا ما ينفعش أقول إن ال exponential is represented by this power series unless I am sure it is a convergent series. يبقى I should go and find my radius of convergence. What values of x am I allowed to put in this formula? إمتى الكلام ده حقيقي يعني؟ Can I claim إنها for every x? I don't know. I should check it. Okay. واضح هنا إيه missing? I cannot say that the exponential is equal that unless I know for what values of x. يبقى I'm gonna apply my ratio test and plug in ال nth term اهو عندي اللي هو في الفورمولا بتاعتي هي x power n over factorial n صح؟ My ratio test بيقول لي find the ratio between the terms x power an plus 1 على an يعني x power n plus 1 على n plus 1 factorial divide by ايه the nth term يعني x power n على factorial n صح؟ خد الابسوليوت. Let's simplify then let's take the limits. طيب when I simplify power n هنا I'll cancel out مع دي I'll end up with absolute ايه x factorial n على factorial n plus 1 will simplify to 1 على n plus 1. We did this before. The brackets I don't need it. If I ended up with this simple form. Now take the limits as n tends to infinity. Term اللي هو 1 على n plus 1 في n. Term التاني I don't need the limits. It's already absolute x. ما فيهاش n. صح؟ What do I need بقى with this ratio test? I need convergence. يعني I need ده كله يبقى less than 1. I need this inequality to be less than 1 and I need to solve this inequality. صح? Right? I'm going to solve this inequality for values of x that are valid. Now take the limits. 1 على infinity is a 0 times absolute x less than 1. أو 0 less than 1. ما 0 times anything is a 0. So I ended up with a 0 less than. What are the conditions for 0 less than 1? Nothing. It's always, صح? This is always true. 0 is always a less than 1. يبقى بمعنى كده it says for any x. صح؟ Element في real number a 9. صح؟ يبقى what's my radius? انت بتقول لي x can take any value. يبقى my radius is infinity. Okay? يبقى my radius of convergence is infinity. If I'm talking about intervals, I'm talking about the interval from negative infinity to infinity. Okay? Got it? ماشي؟ Okay? يبقى I have everything now. I have my power series, I have my radius, both of them, yes, defines my exponential. But I came out with this about problem, and the exponential x is sigma x to the power n over factorial n. This is really important, where my radius is infinity. Okay? Any value for x will give me convergence. ماشي؟ طبعا infinite value يعني. Any questions? طيب. Actually, I could do the same for sine x, cosine x, 1 plus x power k. All of these basic functions actually are given in this table. Right? This was the first one we started with, اللي كانت geometric series, فاكرين? And now we got the e power x using our, actually this is a Maclaurin series عشان we got it around the 0. And this will be, you could do the same بقى with sine x, had it derivatives, okay? Plug in the 0 and you're gonna find these coefficients appearing معاك في expansion. برضو apply the ratio. How do I find these radius? By applying my ratio my ratio test. هنا هو بقى الباقي مش دي. Starting from here, okay? And I could deduce all of these basic functions. Actually, this table you could take with you in your cheat sheet, okay? And now you could use them, use these series as known series. Okay, يا جماعة? You forget to do this, but it's really important. You could use these series, okay, as known as known series. ماشي؟ فاهمين قصدي إيه؟ يعني when I gave you a problem and I didn't ask you to derive, if I told you derive, you're gonna do like I did with the exponential. If I just gave you another problem related to these known series, all you're gonna do is some manipulation to reach some manipulations, algebraic manipulations, you do some derivatives, you do some integration to arrive to these known functions. يبقى كده as if I return to my first approach. I'm looking at well-known series. I'm trying to find my a power series of a new function بقى غير دول. ماشي؟ Let's look quickly كده. عندنا 3 minutes. على this example. If I want the Maclaurin for this function, x is sine x cubed. خلاص احنا اتفقنا. I could use طالما ما قاليش derive الساين لوحدها كده, it's a different problem, where sine is included in my function, I could use the table. But when I want to do the job على this function, actually and I'm gonna go to my tables صح. I'm gonna go to the table and get the expansion for sine x and use it هنا. Actually it will be like x minus x cubed على factorial 3 if I want to write it term by term, x power 5 على factorial 5, x power 7 هي odd powers of x شايفينها and my برضو factorials are odd a numbers ماشي. طب what is my radius برضو it is infinity. I want to use this بقى in my problem. How am I gonna do this? I want to use this to find a power series for my function اللي هي x sine x cubed. حد عنده clue what should I replace with?
ممكن replace الx بالx cube.
بالظبط كده so simple replace ال x by ال x cubed. انت على طول عملت observation and you noticed that this is sine x cubed and this is x. If I replaced every x in this بقى power by x cubed I have everything صح؟ طب what about this x؟ خلاص it is an x outside my bracket. يبقى هتبقى ال x دي لوحدها and I'll open my bracket put my power بتاع الساين. فهنا بس I'm gonna remove every x when I'm plugging x cube يبقى هتبقى x cube over factorial 1 صح؟ minus x cube to the power 3 which is x power 9 على factorial 3 شايفين أنا بعمل إيه؟ plus x power 5 x cube power 5 يعني 3 to the power 5 يبقى هتبقى 15 and so on and so on صح؟ على factorial 5 طبعا مش 15 على factorial 5. الفactorials طبعا دي constants it kept the same. طيب I just replaced x by x cubed. Did my radius change? And let's move with our radius. Actually it will be the same. مفيش حاجة that would affect الايه this radius of converge. خلاص يبقى أنا I don't leave it like this. I should do it as a power. يعني إيه power؟ كلها power ما يبقاش عندي brackets مضروبين في بعض. I should all have x power حاجة. Okay. فبالتالي I'm gonna put this x multiply this x اللي بره في البراكت فيديني x power 4 على 1 minus x power 10 على 3 and so on. x power 16 على 5. معلش we finished بس give me 1 minute. But this is my series, this is my power series, this is my radius of convergence. I have everything for my power series so simply. Now part B actually معلش هنقوله بقى I need to integrate this x sine x cubed. I need to integrate x sine x cubed. أما أجي أبص على المسألة زي كده actually this is a difficult problem. لأن أنا I'm doing integral sine x cube ما عنديش الديريفاتيف بتاعها ف this is considered difficult integral. Why not use a series to find the integration? يبقى this is a nice application أهو to using the power series. طيب I already got a power series representation for my function. My x sine x cube هي نفس problem in part A. يبقى all I have to do is put my integrand بدل function هحط my power series اللي هي x power 4 minus x power 10 plus x 16 صح يا جماعة؟ dx and this is a definite integral ده أنا عندي limits. Do the job now. دي كلها powers يبقى الانتجرال very simple اهي بدل ما اقعد ادور على transformations و relations ده أنا كل اللي هعمله I will raise my power and divide by the new power يبقى x 11 على 11 times factorial 3 x6 17 على 17 في factorial 5 وهكذا. Do I put constant or integration؟ لا I have a limits يبقى I'm gonna substitute with this limits ماشي. يبقى أنا كده كل الايدياز اللي كانت خدناها في السيريز actually appears here. معوض بx ب1 I'll end up with this. أحط x ب0 كلها بزيروز يبقى this is my value. What is this بقى تاني؟ أما أرجع تاني analyze بقى let us analyze. What do I observe بقى؟ إن this is an alternating series. ما بقتش power series بقى ما بقاش عندي axes صح؟ This is an infinite series. Actually it's an alternating series. And I know if I want to sum up this أنا عايز value ما أنا مش واحد مديني integration أديله power series infinite. I must give him a closed form أو a closed value صح؟ فبالتالي I will give him the sum of these values. I know that alternating series actually is approximated by a partial sum, صح? And I know that the remainder will be less than the n plus 1 term. All this I know from my information about the alternating series, صح؟ خلاص هو قال لي in the problem sum up to an error within 0.01 يعني error accepted 0.01. معنى ده كده ايه؟ معناه I'm gonna add up my terms until I reach ايه بقى؟ an error with 0.01. اوكي؟ معلش sorry. يبقى I'm gonna add up بقى the terms اهي 0.2 negative 0. I have my values هنا اهي 0.2 والتاني عبارة عن كام؟ 0.015 و 0.000049. Should I continue? Actually لا هو بيقول لي الerror عايزه within 0.01 يبقى when my term is less than 0.01 okay I should ايه I should stop يبقى بالتالي I'm gonna stop هنا and I'm gonna add just the first ايه two terms يبقى my sum will be 0. أو my value will be 0.185 يبقى I have an approximation for my integral within an error I know it is less than a 0.01 okay and this is my term